Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the League of Europe YouTube channel for round number 12 of Season 7 of Division 3. My name is Aidan Carter, back in the commentary booth after a couple of weeks away. And joining me back in the commentary box this week as well, after a few weeks off, is, of course, Jess. Jess, first of all, welcome both of us. We've got to welcome both of ourselves back to the commentary box. It's been a little bit all over the place in D3 recently. But secondly, how are you doing? And have you recovered yet from your long journey?
Kind of, but I'm kind of ready to get started with the action again. We are at the Sir Ibbo Autodrome for the unnamed Grand Prix, first used in Formula 1 back in 2014, and it hosted the Winter Olympics here as well. And it's a penalty central kind of track as well. And thanks to the two commentators that filled in for us last week, much appreciated. It was kind of crazy last week at Zandvoort.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like it, doesn't it? It was a pretty crazy drive last time out from a lot of drivers, and in the end it was Brent that took home the victory at Zandvoort last time out then, with Tope finishing second and Luke third. And with those three drivers finishing on the podium, it has really closed up the championship standings as of late. Whilst Rick did get a second place finish in Belgium a couple of rounds ago, he's had 2 DNSs in the last 3 rounds, which means that his lead has been slashed to 13 points, and he's still leading the championship just ahead of RJ at the moment. But RJ recently, since his win in Saudi Arabia, has not finished inside the top 5 since. So for RJ, it's been a little bit of a struggle recently, hasn't it? He started off the season really, really well, has 3 wins under the belt, and then ever since the 7th round of the season, just hasn't shone.
No, it hasn't, and it's allowed the Current to increase the gap a little bit as well. And if he wants to stay in that championship fight, he doesn't want to let the likes of Tope and Luke close in as well, because Luke had a good race last time out with a 3rd place. Of course, we've got Brent, who won last week with a commanding win as well, and Tope finished 2nd. So we've got to watch out for the top 5 as well as Vakurik and RJ, because they are catching up very, very quickly too. And there's also some certain people to think about who also had bad races. Of course, we had Cam, who ended his point streak last week with a DNF, and there was a few other DNFs as well from some drivers that we were expecting to be quick. So they're looking for redemption this week.
Yeah, definitely looking for redemption, like you say. That's running through quickly the rest of the top 10 of the standings, and it is Tope in 3rd, only 4 points now behind RJ. So Tope started off the season really, really well, had a dip mid-season, but is now back on form. He's had 3 top 5 finishes in a row now, with a 5th, a 3rd and a 2nd in the last 3 races of the season. Luke up in 4th, he's only a further 3 points behind Tope there, and Brent is 5th at the moment. He's on 97 points currently, so he is 37 points off the championship lead, but there is still plenty of time to go in this championship, and he is also on a very good run of form as of late, with 3 podiums in the last 4 races. Beyond Brent, it is Darry, the 2nd Williams, in 6th place ahead of Old School. Rex, who is in 8th ahead of Cam K, like you said, wasn't able to continue his points run last time out, so that means that there's now no driver in Division 3 who has scored points in every race so far this season. And Bunty rounds off the top 10, obviously picking up a win in Belgium, and only the 5 points last time out for him in Zandvoort. So it's kind of been a little bit of an up and down season for a lot of drivers at this midpoint, you've got to say. We're just waiting, I believe, for one driver to join the lobby. We shall wait and see who it is. But the crazy thing really about this season has been that we started off the season, of course, with J. Cole being in this division, dominating the proceedings. But ever since J. Cole has left, we've had 9 different winners in 9 races. That is a pretty staggering statistic.
Yeah, it is. It's unheard of in Division 3, but it shows that it's been unpredictable, and pretty much every single driver in this division has made mistakes this season. I think most people have either been out of the points or been scoring lower points as well, which is not ideal for them. I know some drivers would like to be just scoring a few points here and there, but the top drivers as well, getting 2, 1 or even 3 points is not enough. They want to be scoring more than that as well, and they need to benefit from other people making mistakes too, and they got to be keeping practicing, because if they don't practice, the results will show on race night, and it's a track that not many people race on anymore, so they might put even more practice time for this track. And I believe it's Marty we are waiting for to join us, and then once Marty joins, we will be starting. If not, we'll be starting in 2 minutes time.
Yeah, just waiting for the second LP driver then. That, like you say, that's who we are waiting for. We'll talk a little bit about the Sir Ibbo Autodrome, as we will refer to it tonight. Of course, Jess has already mentioned that we have renamed it for, I'd say, pretty obvious reasons, of course. But beyond this track not being raced a lot already on this game, and this track now featured for the first time on this game in LOE, of course, it wasn't featured on the calendar last season. This does mean that pretty much because of how the schedule was meant to be for 2023 for the Formula 1 calendar, this is officially the last time we'll be racing at this circuit. So you've got to say, for some drivers, maybe a bit of a sigh of relief, because this track has not been a favourable one with drivers in the past.
Nope, it hasn't, due to the amount of penalties and due to the amount of incidents that happen as well. But there's quite a few drivers that had success in the Sir Ibbo Autodrome. Mercedes have won all 7 Russian Grand Prix to date. Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas as well. And I think Lewis Hamilton won from Lando Norris. Lando Norris' win was cruelly taken away due to him staying out on the wrong tyres when it was very, very wet. So it was a bit of a shame that Lando Norris didn't get his win, but his first win is still coming. And even though we're kind of doing quite well this weekend in real life as well, and it is the 4th longest on the current F1 calendar, behind Spa in terms of track distance as well. So these drivers are going to be on top of their toes as well. But luckily, these drivers don't have to worry about too much tyre dead, because it's an easy soft medium. The softs can last, I think, 15 laps. So if they get damaged quite early on, they can go onto the softs again pretty early on. If they start on mediums, if they start on softs, then they can pretty much get the mediums till the end of the race, which is good to see as well. So we got everyone in. We're about to get started, and we should be in for a good qualifying session. And knowing where we are in the Sir Ibbo Autodrome near the Black Sea, it has a tendency of raining quite a lot. So who knows? We may see a change in the weather.
Yeah, we could see a change in the weather. Like you say, we haven't really had a weather-affected race for a while, so it would be maybe nice to see. But we have got a full grid of drivers, which is great to see. So 20 drivers on the grid today, and you may have noticed some changes as of recently. We have had, well, across the league, really, quite a shuffle round in our reserve orders, so there are quite a few new names to look out for this evening. Of course, we've got Easy at the top, up the timesheets. Of course, he raced last time out in Zandvoort, but he is new to the division, of course. We've got Senna in the Aston Martin today. He is a new driver. FRL Parrot and FRL Charlie, the 2 drivers in the Ferraris, of course. I believe they have moved into full-time seats, actually, in those 2 Ferraris, so we should be seeing those for the rest of the season. So 4 drivers, really, that are new. Of course, like I said, Easy's not brand spanking new to the division, but he is still new. So a lot of new faces, and it adds kind of a new dynamic, doesn't it, having new drivers in there for these drivers to battle with. And it could be, like we've mentioned, maybe a few new threats, maybe, to these Division 3 drivers.
Yeah, as well, and they can't become complacent, because with these new guys coming in as well, even though they join midway through the season, they've got a point to prove for next season, because the F1 2022 game will be coming out very, very soon, and they want to improve on their pace as well. And if they can show they can be quick right off the bat, then that may put off the championship contenders. It may force them to make a mistake. It may force them to lose out on points they potentially could have gained without them being there. We don't know. We don't know what these drivers can do. This is our first time experiencing them, so we'll have to wait and see what happens. We've got quite a few drivers on the medium compounded tyre, so it is going to be a dry qualifying session, even though it's quite overcast at this moment in time. But the soft should last quite a long time anyway, but you don't really want to be on old tyres for qualifying, so that's why you want plenty of soft to your disposal. Pretty much almost everybody is out on the track now. We'll see what they can do as well. I think, I don't know what lap times we could be expecting. I would say probably into the low 131 to 130s, but I'm still out of the loop in terms of lap times, because literally I only did my notes like half an hour ago. But we'll see what they can do. I think Charlie will be, actually no, it's I think a Mercedes and another Ferrari out on their laps first, but I think Charlie's the 3rd one to start his lap time, so we'll see what they can do.
Yeah, that's right aboard with Charlie, actually, as he goes across the line. Then 18 corners around this Autodrome circuit. Then turn number 1, not really a corner, it's just a flat-out kink in a straight. And, of course, this will feature as the long run into turn 2 at the start of the race. Famous, of course, for really good overtaking on the first lap of the race. And then that's about it as we head through turns 2 and then turn 3, a little kink, into turn number 4, the long 180-degree left-hander, easily flat out with modern Formula 1 cars, in towards turn number 5, and this is the end of the first sector. Then we'll see what the first sector is like for Charlie. The gap between the mediums and the softs is around 0.6 to a second in the delta, depending, of course, how confident you feel on the medium compound tyre. Through the kink of number 7 and into turn at number 8, we've already had Rex out of the session, so the car just behind Charlie on the road has dropped it coming out of turn number 6 and has put the car in the wall. So already a driver out of the session as Charlie heads through the DRS detection point for the second DRS zone on the track. Down the back straight, DRS, of course, very powerful at this circuit. That will be a strong feature in this race. We'll DRS, and we'll see a lot of DRS trains this evening as he heads down towards the kink of 13 and then into turn number 14. The start of the third sector then gets much more tight and narrow through here, much more resembling of a street circuit. This is technically a street circuit, but it's a purpose-built street circuit, which is more common to what we're seeing nowadays with the likes of Miami and all that joining the calendar as we head now towards turn 18 and 19, the final two corners on the track. Then through turn 18, don't hit too much of the sausage curb on the inside, as likewise with every corner on this track. And then round the final corner, very short run to the line, and it's a 31.3 from Charlie on the medium compound tyre, which is a pretty decent first effort on the medium tyres, and that will save him a set of softs for the race. Bunty goes behind 0.7 of a second slower. Chill, first driver on the softs, still slower than Charlie, a 31.4 from the Alfa Romeo. As across the line comes Taupe to go 0.3 of a second faster on the medium compound tyre, a 31 flat for the Williams driver. And you've got to say for Taupe, that's not a surprise. He's probably been the standout in qualifying all season long.
Yeah, but it's not about qualifying, it's about the race and the Williams pairing. And our 1 and 2 as Dowie goes first fastest provisional pole with a 130.6, 6 quicker than his teammate, but the delta is around about 0.6 of a different, I believe. So that's what you expect. So I'm assuming Taupe would have been probably the same lap time pretty much as his teammate if he was on the softs, but he didn't want to use the softs straight away. Few invalidations already, which is not surprising due to the nature of this track. Parrot has invalidated. Old School comes across the line in P4. Old School will need to work on his consistency, but with a track like this Autodrome here, well, you can improve on your consistency a little bit if you try to avoid to cut these corners. We got, I think, RJ coming towards the line now, final corner, 131.7 puts him into P9. And then we got J-Luke also on the medium compound tyres as well. Quite a common feature for some of these drivers. Let's see what he could do. Not too shabby from him. 131.999 puts him into P11. That is pretty much all the medium runners that have run so far, apart from Brent, last week's race winner. He is on his outlap. Everyone else, I think, is on their inlap or going into the pits.
Yeah, pretty much everyone going into the bit. Bunty has crossed the line for a second time on his medium compound tyres and found half a second on that second run. So a 31.4 from the Alfa Romeo driver. And so far, real split of strategies in this field, of course. The majority of people that are on the medium compound tyres are likely doing this to save a set of softs for the race. Of course, if there's a late safety car, a fresh set of softs could do you the world of good around a track that is as easy to overtake as this one. But a real split in half pretty much through this field. And the field is pretty much mixed up between soft and medium runners. It's 2 softs followed by a medium, then 2 softs followed by a medium, and then followed by a soft runner. So a real mix of drivers throughout the field. Parrot has gone again in the Ferrari on his same set of soft compound tyres, so we'll see him in the middle sector. We'll see what the Ferrari driver can do. His Ferrari driver teammate at the moment currently 6th fastest, the 2nd fastest driver on that medium compound tyre at the moment as Parrot comes through the second sector split. And it's a 4.5, which is pretty solid through the middle part of the lap for the Ferrari man. Runs a little bit deep into the braking zone of turn number 14, but just about gets away with it. It's a quick chicane, so you don't lose too much by running deep there. The off-camber left-hander, of turn number 16, probably the most difficult corner on the track to get right because of the camber of the track. Through the final 2 corners then comes the Ferrari. Where can he put the car on the grid at the moment? Currently without a time. Around the final corner comes Parrot, and he goes up into P3 with a 31 flat on his second lap on the soft compound tyres, so just behind the Red Bull of Easy. And Dowie still holds the fastest time at the moment by 0.3 of a second. Yet again, Williams showing strong in qualifying, but at the moment a few drivers will still yet to see times from, one of those being Brent, who you've got to say is probably one of the favourites coming into tonight.
I think he has the momentum from last week. He knows he could still fight for this championship as well with not many rounds to go, and I think he's on form at the moment, so he can't make any more mistakes. But he's on the medium, so don't expect him to be on pole straight away, but he'll go on the softs a little bit later on. As speaking of that, he actually goes into the pit, so he has aborted his lap. Will be going on the softs very, very shortly. And we're seeing Noah J going through turn 3, heading towards turn 4 as he starts here, one of his laps. I think he invalidated his previous run, so it's his first proper time run. And I've just noticed as well, it's getting a bit more clear at the moment here at Ibbo Autodrome. I think it's getting a bit more hotter in terms of track temperature as well, which means the track will be evolving, so more people will be out there very quickly as Parrot has retired, and that is that in the, I think that's middle turn 11 and 12, I think. Yeah, it is. Turns 11 and 12 is where he dropped it, so I'll go on board with Noah J actually to see. Oh, it's right in the middle of the track. Noah Jamie about the way, luckily his ghosting's on, but that's a weird place to bin it, don't you think?
Very weird place. He's either lost it so far down the straight and had a tank slapper, and the crash just carried on for the best part of 50 metres down that straight, always had a collision with another car. That is a very weird place to drop the car, so I'm sure we'll find out about that one later. But that's a shame for Parrot. It was a strong first run for the Ferrari driver, so his qualifying session already coming to an end, so he'll have to recover in the race, as will Rex, of course, who didn't set a time. He crashed out early on in the session. He's been on a good run of form recently, 2 5th-place finishes in the last 2 rounds, as Noah J crosses the line to go P7 on the soft compound tyres at 31.2, but still only 2 drivers at the moment in the 1 minute 30s. We're expecting a low 1 minute 30 for pole, maybe a 0.3 or 0.2 is probably where we could see drivers heading towards in this session. I believe we've got more people on laps now. Senna's just crossed the line to go for his second run on the soft compound tyres. Marty currently on a lap, but he has invalidated through the final part of the lap. And Mats is on a lap coming towards the end of the run now. Is the AlphaTauri driver, so we'll see where he can put the AlphaTauri as he comes around the final corner a little bit wide, goes P11 for the time being. And fair to say, the alternate strategy here, being P11, maybe not that favourable. Like you said, the tyre wear around here, not really a factor, so if you get stuck in a DRS train early on, it's actually pretty difficult for those on the alternate strategy to make headway in this race.
I tried that in a few races I did around this circuit, starting on the mediums, ending on the softs, and it was not ideal, and the only way that it helped me was a safety car. If there's no safety car, it'll be best to start on the softs, stay on those for a long time, maybe go for the mediums, but we will see. We are not the strategists around here. The drivers obviously know what they're doing. So I think Noah J has aborted his lap, I think. Yes, he has. So he'll probably go either into the pits or try out again. Expect, I think, a few drivers to go on a few laps on these tyres due to the tyre degradation around this track. I think Brent's going again on his lap to see if he can try again. He's on the mediums again then. So I'm guessing he didn't have that much tyre life from his first run to go out, and he's probably not going to use it that much in the race, so why not? That's why most people have done it, I think, because you're probably going to be using the softs for most of the race. So Brent's coming towards the final corner now, about to start his lap, and we'll see how he can manage this lap on the mediums, which will be 6 tenths slower than the likes of Darien Tote, I believe, at the moment, but at a lower fuel mode. So let's see if he can be competitive. Well, the others, as Dowie comes across the line in P1, 130.5, a few tenths quicker than its previous best, and just pips Tope as well. We've got a few more people coming across the line. We've got, I think, one of the Alfa Romeos. We've got Chill up to the line on some old softs, actually. No, fresh softs, I believe. So Chill comes across the line in P10. I think he doesn't improve on his lap time. Brent's on the softs, I believe. I'm so sorry. I thought he was on the mediums, but I was looking at best not tyre. So we'll see how much he can improve. But I think Brent could be up there. But he does seem to be struggling a bit more. So I think this may not be his quickest lap.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it as Luke crosses the line for the Aston Martin, goes P3. So starts to shift around at the top, but Darry's still comfortably clear of the field at the moment in qualifying. 3 tenths of a gap he has got. Tope did improve. Of course, his first one was on the medium compound tyre, so he only actually managed to find 2 tenths of a second on the softs compared to the medium. So either that wasn't the best lap on the softs, or it was a stellar lap on the mediums. We'll wait and see as the session goes on. Luke third. Easy still in 4th position. Senna's moved up to P5 in the other Aston, so pretty solid second run. Bunty's moved up on his first run on the soft compound tyres to P6, and then RJ is in P8 at the moment. Old school running off the top 10 after his latest run as Brent crosses the line on those soft compound tyres and goes into 2nd place, but still over 2 tenths of a second behind Darry, who is comfortably at the top. And when we've seen Darry be this strong in quali, he's been very strong in the race. Of course, Imola, he got pole position. He went on to finish 3rd in that race. It was a pretty solid race for him to start off the season. And of course, Darry has picked up a win this season back in Australia, where he also picked up pole. So when Darry is on pole, he's usually very fast in the races. Rekurik has retired from the session in the pit lane, interestingly. He doesn't have a quali ban, so Rekurik, for some bizarre reason, has just decided that he wants to start at the back today.
I'm guessing he wants to do a last 2 challenge, but you don't want to lose too many points because it is a 13-point gap to RJ at the moment. But, you know, you may want to have a bit of fun. But it may come down to this race that decides pretty much the order of the championship. So, but he thinks that you'll get involved in the carnage in front. So, why not? And there's, I think, pretty much all the races he's taken part in, he scored points. And if he doesn't score points, then probably starting P90 was not the best idea, as J-Luke goes into P3 with a 130.8. So time's getting close there right now. Everyone has just dived it in to the pits, apart from Noah J, J-Luke's teammate. He's about to start, I think, his final flying lap, or he may go for 2 flying laps actually as well. Noah J only scored 8 points this season, and that was in Imola. The rest of the races DNF'd or DNS'd in all of them as well. So Noah J, not the best of seasons so far, and I think he wants to show that he can score points like he did in Imola and show that he deserved the promotion from obviously Division 4 to Division 3. And I think we have Williams or no, it's an Alpine that's been on his outlap, but luckily it's his outlap anyway, so he can keep going as well. Let's look at the constructors actually whilst they're on their outlaps and flying laps. Aston Martin are leading 212. We've got Williams 202, McLaren 183, Haas 167, AlphaTauri 120, Red Bull 78, Alpine 73, Ferrari 62, Alfa Romeo 50, and Mercedes in last in 32. So yeah, it just shows how dismal a season Mercedes have been doing, to be honest. 4 points scored in Zandvoort between both of the drivers, and 4 points in Belgium as well. So 8 points in the last 2 races. Not good, is it?
No, really not good, like you say. And Noah J has had the pace this season. We've seen him multiple times running inside the top 10, but yeah, finishing a race has been really difficult so far for Noah J this season. He has had, I believe, 7 retirements so far, 6 retirements, sorry, so far this season. One other finish that wasn't the points finish in Imola was at France, and he didn't finish in the points. So not particularly had a great season, like you say, and he's dived into the pit lane at the last minute. So he clearly wasn't happy with that run. He's dived in. He's going to get a fresh set on with just enough time left in the session. Taupe then will be the first person on their final run in the session, but he's half a tenth of a second down in the first sector, so hasn't found any time as of yet. We'll see them through the middle part of the lap. It's usually the final sector where you see drivers make the most time. It is the trickiest sector with the most commitment needed, so that's where you'll find it. Taupe has improved slightly in middle part, but he's still 1,000th of a second down on his personal best. We did mention earlier on he'd only found 2/10 from his medium run to his soft run, and at the moment it is looking more like it was a strong medium run more than anything else, because he doesn't seem to be able to find that much more time on the soft compound tyre as he heads towards the very end of his lap. Then through the final 2 corners comes the Williams driver. Where can he put the car? Can he challenge his teammate at the top of the timesheets? No, he can't. He would have been into second position, but because he ran wide over the curb, he invalidated the lap time, and that is the session over and done with. P4 is the best Taupe can hope for. By the way, when J-Luke set that time to go P3, he was completely off the track when he crossed the line, so I would not be surprised if that lap maybe gets reported to the stewards after this session.
Yes, there was a few stewards updates that was posted earlier on to make sure they do not cut the corners in qualifying, and if people see this happen, then they've been advised to report it, and severe cutting on the track in qualifying and potentially in the race as well will result, well, pretty much in qualifying will result in a qualifying ban. So I wonder if the drivers have read the briefing or just glimpsed through it, because I definitely read it and that's what it said. So yes, I think the drivers will be keeping an eye on that, especially if J-Luke does very well. So we've got, I think, Senna, who has invalidated his run. We've got Luke, who I think is on a run as well, but I think we've got one of the Red Bulls that's going to cross the line first. I can't even pronounce his name. I'm going to call him Vimp. Easy Vimp. I don't know, but he's come across the line to start his flying lap anyway. We got the Aston Martin of Senna then. He's a few, I think he's about 2 seconds down. Yes, he is, so he's not going to improve. I think we've got Dari about to start his final run then to see if he can clinch pole position. And we got the AlphaTauri of Brent, who's also going to do the same. Yeah, pretty much everyone is on their flyers, apart from Charlie maybe. Yeah, he's on a flyer as well. So final lap, it is crunch time, calm before the storm. Can anyone beat Dari, and can Dari improve on his lap time?
Well, Luke is looking pretty strong on this lap so far. 0.4 of a second up by the end of the second sector. Can he nail the final part? Throws it in nicely to the final corner, but he lost time in the final sector, and it's not pole for Luke. Tope is retired in the pit lane, as you would expect. Second is the best that Luke can hope for. We've still got people coming to the end of, well, coming to finish their outlaps and start their final runs, of course. Bunty, Noah J, and Cam K out on the track at the moment, trying to come to the line in time. Chill will be next, I believe, to cross the line to finish a lap. Crosses the line, only 13th for the Alfa Romeo. 31.1 is the best that they can manage. Across the line comes the Red Bull of Cam K, who missed the cutoff point to start the final run. So Cam K, 17th is the best that he can hope for. Noah J has invalidated his final run. YHYY backed off of his final run and didn't set the time. So that's his time over and done with. Easy across the line. He does exactly the same thing that Tope did. Ran too wide at the final corner and invalidated. His session is over and done with. I think Marty's had a spin in the final sector, so he will not be improving. Senna will be next, but he is 2.5 tenths down by the end of the second sector. This doesn't look like an improvement. Crosses the line. It is not. 7th is the best that Senna can hope for in this session. Into the pit lane comes the Alpine. As across the line comes Brent. He goes up into second. 4 thousandths off Dari, who had invalidated and has just been beaten from nowhere. Charlie in the dying depths of the session. Dari invalidated the final run, and it's cost him. Charlie has snuck into pole position in the final stages of qualifying. Can anybody beat it? Luke is going again on the same set of soft compound tyres around the final corner, throws it in again nicely, and he gets it. He found more time on the second run without doing a cool-off lap. That is a brilliant run from Luke. Goes 5 thousandths clear, and RJ puts his McLaren into third. That's a brilliant lap time from RJ. Where did that come from in the dying depths of the session? J-Luke doesn't improve. Old School doesn't improve either on his position. He improves his time, but stays P12. Across the line comes Brent. Is only a 0.5. Was that Brent that came across the line? No, it was Bunty, sorry, that came across the line. Went P6 on a 0.7. I think that is it. No, Chill's not improving. He's coming into the pit lane. That is the session over and done with. And on his second lap, without a cool-off lap, Luke has got pole position, but only by 5 thousandths of a second. And the top three are separated by less than 200ths.
That is just insane. This is F1 esports, and we've got to think about Dari and Brent as well. They're less than half, pretty much half a thousand, pretty much. Dari and Brent 6/100ths. Brent 7/100ths. It's just insane. It only takes a small margin, some small mistake, and that's what cost them pole position. Luke did what he needed to do, and he did it as well. He's going to be on worn tyres, but it's not a problem around it. If he did it in, say, I would say China, Singapore, that would be an issue. But around it, it's not really an issue. So Luke, bravo. I'm trying to think if Luke's got a win. The closest he got to a win was in Bahrain. He hasn't had a win so far this season. He's got a few podiums and 4th place as well. Can this be the race where he gets the win? He got a P3 last week. Can he get a second podium in a row? We'll find out.
Yeah, we'll wait and see. Apart from his DNS in Belgium, he has finished in the top 4 in every race since Portugal. That is what good of a run of form Luke is on at the moment, and it's, I believe, possibly his first pole of the season. We have to double check that, but it's pole for Luke ahead of Charlie on debut in second place. Great run for Charlie, and RJ up in third, one of his better qualifyings of the season. Dari dominated the session until the final runs and ends up 4th ahead of Brent, Bunty, J-Luke, Tope, Easy, and Senna rounds off the top 10 ahead of Parrot in 11th, and it's Old School, White to Wide, Chill, Noah J, Mats, Cam K, Marty, the people that set times. Rakurik and Rex didn't set a time at all. Very interesting though, you've got to say, from Rakurik, it seems like he just didn't want to take part in qualifying, and he's doing possibly a last to first or a second to last till first in this session. But by doing that, he's putting himself at a massive disadvantage in the championship, because RJ's third on the grid, and Luke is second on the grid. Brent's 5th on the grid. Tope's right up there as well. So Rakurik here, championship-wise, possibly could have just shot himself in the foot.
And Luke being the one that's the top out of all the championship contenders at the moment, and he's sitting in 4th place at 114 points, it can make a massive difference, because P1, 25 points as well, and there's a big gap between P1 and P2, so if Rakurik has a bad race or scores no points, Luke could be leading the championship to the likes of RJ, Tope as well. But if RJ and Tope also have good races, then maybe they will probably do something similar as well. And obviously, we've been informed earlier by one of the drivers that it's a dry race, and we've just been given confirmation by the game that it's also a dry race, which is great to see. No rain in sight from the Black Sea, and we will see then. Will anyone outside the top 10 go on the medium compounded tyres, which is to be expected, or will they do what I suggested and go on the softs? Cam's gone on the softs, so Cam has probably followed my direction. Everyone else has gone for the mediums outside the top 10. And am I surprised? Don't think so.
No, not surprised. I'm not surprised either. Parrot's also gone for the softs in 11th position, but that I'm also not surprised by because he's not anywhere. He's not really that far off. And if he's got a fresh set of soft compound tyres, which he definitely will do because he only did one run in the session before he crashed out, so he will have a fresh set of softs, and he can possibly use those to his advantage in the early laps of the race. And like we said, being on the alternate strategy here, it's probably one of the weakest tracks on the calendar for the alternate strategy. Well, this and Zandvoort, we've just had 2 tracks back to back where the alternate strategy is not that powerful. So yeah, those on the medium tyres, I think we'll be just hoping to go long, hoping for some sort of safety car later on to bring them back into play. And if qualifying is anything to go by, we could see a safety car in this race. I mean, the walls are very close. This track, while it is pretty much flat, can be quite difficult. It can tempt you into pushing a lot, and then you can run wide and hit a curb and spin the car. So there's sausage curbs and AstroTurf everywhere here, ready to kill you if you do make a mistake. So we'll keep an eye out for that one in this race. And you mentioned it at the start of the stream as well. One thing we have to keep an eye on here, penalties. This track, like I said, it's so inviting to push as hard as you can because there is no gravel, there is acres of runoff. Because it's so inviting, it is so easy to extend the limits here.
Not as much as previous games, luckily. I remember the last game in F1 2020, people could get loads of penalties, but around here, not as much as well compared to the likes of USA and Mexico. But still, they still want to take as much advantage as they can. But with people that hardly get any penalties, this could be their race for them. If they just keep it clean, they could get some decent points. There's a few disqualifications from the formation lap, which is not ideal. On the last game, it will be a lot consequential, but on this game, not too bad. But I think Darry and Brent will just need to put their heads together as well. Darry was on pole for most of the session. He's now P4, so he's got to try and find a way to start in a decent position. And I think I know Bias a few years ago purposely wanted to start P3 to get a toe to get to the lead. Look who's P3 in this race. RJ at the moment.
Second in the championship. Could be a brilliant opportunity here for RJ, third on the grid. Of course, it is a really long run to turn number 2. Can the slipstream work for those on the second or third row of the grid and jump them up a couple of places at the start? Who can get the best start off the grid? But we're just about ready to go then. The lights come on ahead of the drivers. It's Luke and Charlie on the front row. Who gets the best start? Lights are out very quickly and away they go, and Luke looks like he's got a brilliant launch off the line. It's Darry in 4th who looks like he's got the best start of those at the front of the field. They've already had to fan out 3 wide behind Luke, who was looking unchallenged on the run in towards turn number 2. They're 3 wide for second place. Can Darry split the middle? He can. RJ goes around the outside but runs a little bit off the track. That will surely be a warning, but Darry with a brilliant start up into second. Charlie on the inside of the 3 wide has been taken out of position. He's dropped down to 6th place. RJ and Darry still running side by side, and J Luke with a brilliant start is trying to get in on the action. There's a yellow flag in the background. That is Senna and Parrot that have come together at the back of the field. Parrot continuing on, but Senna has had a spin at the very back. They're still fighting for second and third. Darry gets second. J Luke down the inside up into third. Amazing start for Darry. Even better start for J-Luke, but what that has done has let Luke disappear up the road already, 1.3 seconds up the road.
I think Luke is turning into Jerry Cole for just a little second because he's an Aston Martin driver, just like J. Cole was back in the day in Division 3, and doing quite well indeed. Rex and Maya having a scrabble in the background. Rex actually had a good start from his starting position. I think he didn't qualify, and he's up into 5th position as we got Brent and Charlie trying to go side by side into the break instead of turn 13. 14 heading towards turn 15 as well. Toby's trying to make up for lost time as well. Bit of contact there. Bit of argy-bargies going on from the field. Charlie's also a bit of ground now. Toby's going to try and get the left-hand side line. I'm seeing a Ferrari dive into the pits. I wonder if he's got damage there. I think he does. So, yeah, he's going to change onto the medium tyres. But like I said, mediums last most of this race, if not all of it. So he should be... It shouldn't be a problem, but his tyres are going to be toast towards the end. But I think we've got a few more drivers towards the end as well. Ferrari's not doing too well. Just like 2019 when Sebastian Vettel and Charles Leclerc had a bit of issues. I think this is turning into 2019 Autodrome Grand Prix for the 2 Ferraris.
Yeah, definitely is at the moment. It's all kicking off at the front of the field. Bunty's missed turn 2 and 3, and as they go across the escape road, that has put Brent right on the back of the Alfa Romeo. By the way, the damage for Charlie came. He was battling, of course, side by side with Brent, outbroke himself into the next corner and slammed straight into the back of the Alfa Romeo and broke his front wing. Of course, Parrott getting that damage with the contact early on in the race with Senna. So no surprise that both Ferraris are into the pit lane. Mats, Noah J and Rex, the other 3 that came into the pit lane at the end of lap 1. So 5 drivers pitting for a front wing change. Luke still leads, 1.3 seconds clear ahead of Darry and J. Luke, 2nd and 3rd. RJ 4th. They've split from the pack at the moment. It is Bunty in 5th ahead of Brent 6th. Tope 7th. Easy is in 8th position. I'm going to have so many troubles pronouncing that as well today, but Easy in 8th place in the Red Bull was battling with Old School coming out of the final corner, but I think that was a mistake from the Red Bull in the previous corner that put the McLaren on the back of him. Old School, though, the leading medium runner at the moment with White Hawaii just behind, and then a 2-second gap back to Chill, and Rekurik already up to 12th, trying to make it 11th as Chill runs a little bit wide. Rekurik down the inside, no problem whatsoever. He's up another place. He's up into 11th from 19th on the grid. Into the pit lane comes Camkate as well for an early pit stop. That might be a strategy call. It might be a front wing change. We don't know. But like you said, the mediums can go pretty much the full race distance. So I wouldn't be surprised if it is a strategy call. White Hawaii, the other Haas driver, down the inside of Old School on the run up towards turn at number 2. Can he get the move done? Brent and Bunty going side by side. Brent's got the move done on Bunty. He's up into 5th place, but crucially, well off the back at the moment for battle for seconds. So the field is really spread out. Chill's now had a spin coming out of turn number 2. It's all been kicking off in the opening laps of this race. It's kind of up and down and all over the place at the moment. And unlike usually, there is a lot of split in the field.
Yeah, so it's not as close as we would have thought compared to what we saw in qualifying, but there's just people making mistakes. And I did see Cam's pit stop. It was for a change in front wing, so he must have lost it somewhere unnoticed, or he may have picked up damage in the lap 1 incident. We don't know. So he's in 19th at the moment, but he doesn't have to stop again unless there's a safety car. And we're now at a DRS detection point for the Williams, and he's not even close to Luke right now. He's 2 tenths off, so he's losing a bit of time, and J-Luke's closing in because of that as well. The DRS gains about 2 or 3 tenths to the car in front too, so the long run into turn 1 and 2 could be beneficial for the Mercedes drivers. Same with the likes of RJ2. Brent not so much because he's out of DRS. Bunty and Tope can try and get some moves done as well. This is going to be a DRS strategy game at the moment as well, in particular between turn 1 and 2. So it's DRS zones follow quite closely ahead of each other. We got obviously turns 1 and 2, and then we obviously got turn 11 and 12 too. But we'll see what these drivers can do. J-Luke's trying to go for a move on the right hand side in towards turn 2, heavy braking zone. I think Bunty's trying to do the same thing perhaps a little earlier, but J-Luke gets the move done up into P2. Bunty does the same thing and up to P5. Noah J's out the race, and we've got a safety car. I think that's due to Noah J's retirement, and that continues Noah's poor run of form. It's another DNF to add to his collection. What a shame.
Yeah, number 7 of the season then for Noah J in terms of retirements. J-Luke got that overtake timed perfectly, didn't he? Got the move done, and then the safety car came out for his teammate's crash. And what this has done has massively helped those on the regular strategy, because they can pit for the mediums from here and go to the end of the race. So those on the mediums will be fairly happy with this. I think Luke, though, maybe he might not be too happy. He had a comfortable lead, and that is going to put the likes of J-Luke, Darry, RJ, and especially now Bunty, Brent, and Tope right onto the back of him again. So I'm sure Luke's maybe not too happy with the safety car. The drivers that will be those that were at the head of another train further down the field, like Bunty and J-Luke. So we'll see who comes into the pit lane then at the end of this lap. But a fairly chaotic opening few laps of this race then. A lot of things going on, and in the midst of it, a lot of people have made amazing starts in this race. We'll have a quick look at the positions gained in these opening phases of the race. J-Luke is up 5 places from 7th on the grid. He's had a brilliant start to the race. Old School's up 3, White Hawaii is up 3, Rekurik is up 8 places, Marty is up 6, and of course the biggest Sousa, Charlie, from his front row start, he's down 12 positions into 14th position at the moment. So a lot of up and down at the moment. Not a single person has stayed in the place they started, apart from our race leader Luke at the moment, but that might be about to change as people come into the pit lane. Does anybody stay out? Yes, Old School and White Hawaii on the mediums staying out as you would expect. Of course, they started on those tyres, so not a surprise they're staying out on the track. It should be Luke still in the lead of this race coming out of the pit lane. There will be a few delays in the pits for some drivers double stacking, but Luke comes out comfortably still in the lead of this race, and only 4th on the track, so for him, not too bad. Not a lot of traffic in front of him.
No, I think this is not how the people on the alternate strategy, because there was a few people like YHYY were aiming for 11. You can see as they were slowing down across the line, and with them pitting now, yeah, they're going to have to pit later on, whereas everybody else who had damage lap 1, who pitted for, I would say, either softs or mediums or hards, they could go on to mediums until the end of the race. No problem. So for the likes of Cam, Matt, Rex, Parrot and Charlie, even though they're pitting again, they're back in this race now, and it's helped them a lot. Recurrit's gone on softs. I don't think he's meant to do that, but I wonder if he's going to do a strategy that I've seen a lot of drivers do if they're fair far back. Go on softs, then pit next lap, go on to mediums to last until the end, but he's going to drop down to last anyway, as Parrot is going to do so, and he goes onto the medium tire as well. So there's 3 drivers yet to make a stop. Will they hope for another safety car? Well, it's quite possible around here, but I believe safety car is on reduce, so highly unlikely, but we will see. Strangest things have happened in LOE, Division 3, let's just say.
Yeah, stranger things definitely have happened, like you say. And of course, well, we've already had one retiree from this race, and it's caused a safety car. And we had a fairly chaotic opening few laps of this race with 5 people pitting at the end of lap 1 for damage. So, I mean, at the moment, it's possible another safety car could come out. That could play into the hands of Old School YHY and Marty later on. That's, of course, if they hold position in the early phases. But YHY was definitely faster than Old School. They were just kind of in a train behind Easy, and they were being able to stick into position. And Marty well down at the back of the field after the opening laps of the race. So we don't really know what their pace is. And we don't know how forceful Luke is going to be in these opening phases. Does he want to get past these 2 drivers in front as quickly as possible to try and build a gap and try and put some cars between himself and J-Luke, or does he just sit behind and wait for them to pit? We shall wait and see. Rakurika won't be surprised if he comes into the pit lane for a second time, which he is doing. I'm not surprised by that. I think he's come in, put the softs on, and then we'll go back onto the mediums, because that means he's technically done his mandatory stop in this race and doesn't have to pit again. What it does do, though, is unwinds all of the good work he did in the opening couple of laps and puts him right down at the back of the field again. Senna's retired in the pit lane, unfortunately, and left, which is a real shame to see. But Rakurik, having gained 8 places on the opening lap, is going to lose pretty much all of them once again as he comes into the pit lane for a second time.
I don't think he was meant to go onto the soft tyres earlier on, and that was why he's been forced to pit again onto the mediums, which is a bit of a shame for Rakurik, but at least he can go onto the mediums until the end now. Or maybe it was his strategy planned all along, because he did start on mediums, and you can't do mediums till the end. It won't work. You have to use at least one other tyre compound for the race. If you use mediums, you have to use either softs or hards. If you use softs, you need to use mediums or hards. So, yeah, that's probably what he's doing. He'll get to the end of the race, no problem. But he's got to do what he did in that one, but even better. And if he could do that, he should be absolutely fine. Pretty much everybody is on mediums now. Some on fresh mediums, some on older mediums as well. This could be a very, very good race, especially when the deltas are not too much compared to the length of the tyres. So bring it on. No one's going to be at an advantage, I don't think. The only people who are disadvantaged are the ones yet to pit.
Yeah, like you say, they're the only ones that are disadvantaged, and their tyres are only 5 laps old, and 2 of those laps are under the safety car, so their tyres aren't exactly worn. They're not going to be too slow in comparison to the drivers behind. We're just waiting for Matt to catch the safety car, and then we should hopefully get going this lap, which would be great to see. A lot of drivers that are going to have to do recovery jobs in this race. Rakurik and Parrot. Rex, another driver, of course, didn't qualify. He'll be trying to march his way forward. Charlie, starting on the front row, is already down to 13th. He'll be trying to work his way forward. Tope down there as well, currently 11th, a little bit out of position compared to where we've seen him all season long. So a few drivers that need to work their way forwards in this race. And there we go. Safety car is in this lap. So Old School now dictates the pace in the McLaren. He'll decide when to go. So we'll wait and see. It's likely he'll probably go with a couple corners left, because you can't leave it to the pit straight, because there's no gap between the final corner and the start finish line. So you're likely to go before the penultimate corner. We'll wait and see what Old School decides to do. He's keeping a fairly consistent pace at the moment as he runs towards turn number 18. Does he decide to go before or after turn 18? I think he's going to go after 18. There you go. He goes now just after the penultimate corner, through the final corner, and Old School does get a solid restart to this one. Then one person who's had a great restart is Darry, tucked right up behind J-Luke, coming out the final corner, but with no DRS for the next 2 laps. he's not really going to mount a challenge. Luke is trying to mount a challenge on Marty as well. J-Luke defending all the way to the inside. Dari trying to look to the outside line, but there's no way through. Brent, though, going for the move on Bunty down the inside very late on the brakes. Does miss the corner, so he likely would have got a warning for that, but Brent has got the move done on Bunty yet again in this race and is up into 8th. Good move there from Brent, especially considering there was no DRS. Tope, another one, trying to get a move done down in 11th position, having to double stack in the pit stops. Has not worked well for Williams. He has now dropped down behind Easy and he's trying to get the move done on the Red Bull. Can't find a way through, but at the front of the field, Old School, pretty solid restart.
Yeah, it is. Old School, I think, kept it calm and collected as well because he knows he's probably going to get swarmed in about 5 or 6 laps time. But yeah, he's doing a lot better than I was expecting. Already almost within the 1 second on YHYY, which he is as well. So there is a pace difference between that as well. And I'm then looking at RJ. He's not had a bad start as well. Oh my goodness, it's going to be possibly 3 wide. Heading towards turn 13, but RJ decided to not make it 3 wide. J-Luke's gone a bit wide. I don't know how he saved that. That could have almost been a contact into the wall there for the Mercedes driver, but he did not do that. Thank goodness as well. I'm sure it would have invited Dari to go for the move, but he did not. And RJ possibly gained more because of it. So we'll see what these 3 can do. This is a battle for net P2, and all this is doing is allowing Luke to pretty much increase the gap to himself and the other drivers. So Luke's probably loving this as Luke does get past Marty, and that's another car that Luke doesn't need to worry about for the next couple of laps or so, as Dari almost got the move on the inside from J-Luke into turn 1. Doesn't quite do it. We've got Toby's on the back of the Red Bull driver. I don't think he's going to get it done then, but you never know in this corner with turn 3. It's so hard in the dry, but in the wet it's even harder. Thank goodness they're not in the wet condition right now, so head towards turn 4. Not many places you can overtake in this section of track, so I think there's going to be a possession for a little bit. We're going to be waiting for the next DRS zone, and look, 1.1 seconds between Old School and YHYY. So yeah, YHYY, he's pretty much a sitting duck at the moment. Same with Marty, as Luke's got ahead of him. So Luke, I think, would want to get ahead of the top 2 anytime soon in order to break the train of the likes of J-Luke, Dari, RJ, Brent, and pretty much everyone else behind him.
Yeah, next time we go down the pit straight, DRS will be enabled, so Luke could get the move done on YHY down the pit straight. J-Luke trying not to waste any time looking at Marty, but not close enough. On the restart, at least, though, J-Luke not looking as confident on the mediums as he was on the softs. He was kind of squirreling all over the place in the middle sector on the restart. Seems to have got a handle on it now. One driver who's looking very racy is Brent, currently in P8, looking for a move on RJ into the off-cambered left-handed corner, but wasn't able to get down the inside, so sits back for the time being and waits for another opportunity then as we head in towards the next lap. DRS is enabled. Luke sets the fastest lap as unexpected, and he is crawling all over the back of Haas of YHYY. And look at that, Luke breezing around the outside, of turn number 1. No contest whatsoever, up into 2nd place. J-Luke at the same time breezes past Marty and up into 4th. Dari can't get the move done at the same time, and then now breaks himself and hits the back of the Alpine. That's surely damaged the wing. RJ is wide off the road trying to avoid the Williams, and that has just put Brent through on the inside. Brent has already passed RJ. He is up a place and now trying to get past Marty. That was like the parting of the Red Sea for Brent there. RJ got forced wide because of the damage for Dari, and of course Marty being slow. Brent ended up gaining 2 places in one corner there and is now up into a net 3rd place.
Yeah, this is argy-bargy with these midfield drivers at the moment, wanting to get into a net podium position right now, but only 3 drivers can do it. Cam has got past Power up into P15. Don't forget the top 12 do score points here in LOE, just to make it a little bit more fair, as another person has lost position, and that is Rex as well, with how close it is. Brent's trying to get past Marty, which he does on those fresher tyres, so he's going to try and fight back from J-Luke as well. RJ does exactly the same things, but Marty is trying to have a go because he knows he's going to be staying on the mediums for quite a long time. But I thought the medium runners will pit at the end of this lap, really, because the softs can last 15 laps, like I said. So maybe in this lap they want to go on the softs so they could be on softer tyres for longer and trying to capitalise with that strategy, but it's pretty much not going to happen at the moment because they want to stay on those tyres until the end. The only ones we have to pit are Old School and YHYY, and I think Marty, yes, as Old School has been passed by Luke, and Luke is now the race leader, net race leader, and on track too. So he's going to concentrate to try and make sure he can keep it out. At the moment, it's looking likely. We're getting Fim and Marty hang about, so is Charlie as well. Charlie looking very, very good on traction. Heading towards turn 3, heading towards turn 4. He's going to have another look. Maybe he's not going to have another look. He decides to back off, and then we got Chill and Cam that could join the party very soon too, and Parrot too. So, as speaking of Chill, he's been passed by not just one but 2 drivers. So, Chill's not having the best of races, but still a long, long way to go.
Yeah, long way to go, like you say, and a lot of carnage there being caused by Marty just plummeting through the field on those older tyres at the moment, down to 11th from 3rd at the restart, really struggling for pace is our driver. Luke now into the lead and has 2 cars between himself and J-Luke, so it's looking strong at the moment for Luke. While it was looking maybe not that great for J-Luke, that whole situation behind him of Darry hitting the back of Marty's car means that he's now got a comfortable gap back to Brent, so J-Luke in a comfortable net P2 in this race at the moment. So looking pretty strong for J-Luke. We've said this time and time again, though, this season that J-Luke's on for a strong finish, and we've jinxed him. So touch wood, that is not the case tonight, but J-Luke looking fairly strong. Brent trying his hardest to get back within DRS range of the Mercedes as he's held up behind White Hawaii and Old School. Old School, I think, might be just about to lose DRS to Luke down the pit straight. I think he has. So White Hawaii and J-Luke could be fast here. Taupe now with the fastest lap of the race. Here comes J-Luke then, going to go for the outside line on the run up towards turn number 2, but White Hawaii has a better car in a straight line and more ERS. J-Luke can't get the move done, stays behind in 4th for the time being, runs into the back of the Haas, but just about gets away with it. RJ thinking about the move on Brent as well, but isn't close enough. Taupe trying to pick up the pieces for Williams as Darry's now had to pit for that front wing change. Taupe has gained 3 places on this restart, is up into 8th and now hounding the back of Bunty for 7th.
Yeah, indeed. I think they're all making their gains now, to be honest. I think someone blinked first, and then people are like, you know what? I want to go for moves. As J-Luke has passed YHYY, so he's now going to try and get past Old School and the other Luke as well. There are 2 Luke. Well, obviously, J-Luke is not called Luke, luckily. We can just call him J-Luke if we wanted to. But, you know, he's still with a shot of winning this race as well. Old School, I think, is not doing very well to catch up to Luke on those 5-lap-old. Medium's only just hit the wall a little bit, so he's probably lost a bit of time as well. RJ's trying to get past Brent on the inside into turn 13. He does it, makes the move stick, and he's now up into 5th place. Brilliant stuff from him. He can take the lead of the championship if he keeps it up, because Recurrent is only down in 14th, and you don't get points for 14. So this is good for him. I think I'm trying to look at the championship standings at the moment. The highest driver out of everybody is RJ. So, no, actually, no, it's Luke. It is Luke. So it's going to be quite close between Luke and RJ in the championship standings, I believe, as well. I will probably do the math, but I'm not good at math, so we'll have to wait and see. J-Luke then, his final target out of the one who's still left to pit. He gets past Mark quite comfortably into turn 2, clicks at Apex quite nicely, and now he's going to start to challenge Luke for the race victory as well. We'll see if he's a challenge for Luke, or is he not? Well, only one way to find out. We only got, I think, pretty much half of this race still to go. They have to stay on those mediums to the end, but we will see if they can go the distance. They should do, but we will have to find out very shortly, as Rex is starting to set fastest lap, so he's getting some glory. He won't get any points though if he does get it. Only the people in the top 12 get fastest lap points if they did, but yeah, he's just going to go for the glory anyway on those soft tires. I don't know why he's gone for the soft tire. Oh yeah, softs can make a distance from here, couldn't he? So maybe a good bold strategy call. Maybe he's predicting a late safety car.
Possibly a late safety car, and if there is one, you can still jump back into play, can't you? So we'll have to wait and see. RJ trying to get the move on White Hawaii, but isn't close enough to the Haas to make the move stick. Further down, Recurrent gets past Marty, so Marty down yet another place in this race into 14th position. Recurrent's next target is Camke in the Red Bull. Chill thinking about a move down the inside of Marty as well, trying to get the move done and drop Marty down another place. Marty really struggling tonight in the Alpine, doesn't have really any pace at all, but Chill can't find a way through for the time being. Charlie on the last lap as well got the move on easy in the Red Bull and is now up into 9th, so Charlie continuing his comeback through the field after the shenanigans for him on the first lap of the race. He's start to march his way back up the order at the moment. Taupe is still hounding the back of Bunty, and look at the straight line speed the Williams has, even with the DRS open on the back of the Alfa Romeo. Nothing Bunty can do. Taupe down the inside, better straight line speed. Taupe up a position, and that is a warning sign to the drivers in front. Taupe, even in a DRS train with the DRS open, breezed past Bunty down the pit straight. So Tope in the Williams has got a very, very fast car in a straight line, it seems, as they're out all now queuing up behind Old School. Old School just clinging on to DRS range or to J-Luke on the pit straight, but I doubt he'll have it by the time we get to the back straight this time around.
No, and I think they just got to play it tactically at the moment to see who will gain the most and who will gain the least. And, you know, it may be too little too late, but there may be someone that bins it and he could go back into play potentially, but you never know. It also will be good for Mercedes in the constructors if J-Luke does well, because obviously his teammate had retired. We're looking at RJ right now, actually, to see him going for the move. He's Old School going to think tactically here. He does think tactically. He lets his teammate through. But RJ can't get past YHYY. Again, he's struggling. Brent doesn't. Brent spun. And he's tagged Old School with him almost. So he's probably lost a bit of time and a bit of damage potentially as well, maybe to his end plate. And he's now all the way down to 9th place. And last week's race winner is having a bit of a mare.
Yeah, a bit of a mare there as Easy's come into the pit lane. I wonder if he's damaged his front wing, and that mess was on board with Old School with that one. It was just very light wheel-to-wheel contact between Old School and Brent sent Brent's car sideways. Nothing really that Brent could have done in that situation. What that has done has massively opened the door for Tope, who in all of that is now up into 5th. And a net 4th on the road. So Tope has thrown himself now into contention for a podium in this race, having been fairly nowhere in the early phases. Charlie as well is now right in the thick of it, recovering really well in the Ferrari, now up into 7th place on the road. And his next target, of course, is Old School. So we'll wait and see as Brent continues to try and work his way back through. He gets past Bunty, who doesn't seem to have that much pace at the moment on the medium compound tyres. Does Bunty? Rikurik will be the next driver behind Bunty. And in fact, in the last lap and a half, Rikurik has passed Camke and Parrott. So Rikurik on the charge back through. He's up into 10th. Bunty the next target. I wonder though if Bunty maybe got some front wing damage in that whole mess. He definitely has. He's understeering horribly in the middle part of the lap, and Rikurik is through. Bunty definitely seems to have some damage, having to avoid that whole incident with Brent.
Yes, unfortunate for Bunty. He's just very unlucky in most of these races so far. He was lucky in quite a couple of them, but again, consistency is key around tracks like this. And I'm quite surprised, actually. We talked about penalties at the start of this race. No driver has any penalties. I go onto the penalty screen, nada, no one. So like I said earlier, probably penalties is a lot harder to get around this track compared to previous games, which is a good thing for pretty much all drivers, or maybe they're just keeping it safe because they don't want to get as many penalties as they can. YHYY comes into the pits. Is he going to go on soft? I won't be surprised if he does. Well, there's the only option because he can't go on hard here at the moment. We've got Tope and RJ going for a move. Tope with the DRS nice and early. Makes the move in turn 1, heading towards turn 2. And he does it with ease. Goes the Williams driver, and he's now going to catch up to the leading bunch at the moment. Charlie as well. Can he catch up to RJ as well? I think he's around about 9/10 separating between the two of them. So, you know, Charlie's just proven that you should not give up in times like this because you could get a good result, and he's definitely showing that. And Chill, I believe, I'm just checking up penalties. Yeah, he's the first person to now pick a penalty, so I should just shut up.
Well, we got halfway through the race, so we got pretty far into the race before the first one popped up, so fair play for that one. Parrott's got a move done on Rikurik, so both Ferraris actually recovering, having to make pit stops on the first lap for damage, of course. Both Ferraris recovering pretty well at this point in the race, so we'll see what else they can do as the race goes on. But yeah, RJ being held up quite heavily there by YHYY, and then YHYY pitted, so that put Tope onto the back of the McLaren, and Tope could easily breeze past down the pit straight. So it's kind of falling into Tope's lap at the moment. Everybody's making mistakes in front of him, and he's capitalising as Rikurik gets the move done on Parrott, but Parrott's trying to come back around the outside at the very next corner, but he puts himself on the Astro. There's no grip out there. Rikurik holds 8th for the time being. Can Rikurik get within DRS range of Old School through these final two corners, or does Old School decide to come into the pit lane? No, Old School stays out for another lap on his medium compound tyres, but they are looking pretty shot at this point in the race. He's struggling for pace. Brent's passed him on the previous lap, and Brent is already clearing off into the distance. So yeah, Old School really struggling on his medium compound tyres. YHYY came out the pit lane 13.5 seconds behind Marty, so YHYY completely on his own at the back of the field. It's a long old race left for YHYY in this one. He's going to have to maybe hope for a bit of carnage in front to salvage something from this race. Meanwhile, in the lead, Luke has extended the gap over the previous 4 laps by a second. So what was a 2.3 second gap when J-Luke initially got the move done is now a 3.2 gap, and now it's even bigger because J-Luke is the first of our top 10 drivers to get a penalty, which puts Tope and RJ and Charlie all into penalty range.
Yes, so the gap is now 6.3 seconds, taking into account J. Luke's penalty. So I think Luke must be loving life, and J. Luke is probably crying at the moment. Well, he's not crying, but he's annoyed that he's got that penalty. But easy to do around here as well. And I think the final corner is where we see most people in bad day in quali and in the race so far. So yes, I think J. Luke's got a lot of work to do in order to climb up a little bit as well. I think we're starting to see people getting redemption. Where's Recurring come out in all this? This safety car has definitely helped him. Don't forget, he had to pit quite late on in the safety car pit because he was on the wrong tyre. Or maybe he had to go on the softs so he can go on a different tyre compound. And this is working for him. And he could be within DRS range of Brent. So Recurring still, it could not be a... it's not his best race, but it's definitely not his worst race. He can still salvage some points from this.
Yeah, it definitely can. It's a bit of a bizarre race as Old School finally picks off of those medium tyres and will come in for a set of softs. Mats has followed him in, so Mats has had enough of his tyres as well. It's been as Tope now gets the move done on track on J. Luke actually, so Tope up into second. Is Tope the person to try and challenge Luke at the front of the field? But it's a near 4-second gap. Luke is dominating this race at the moment. For such a small quali gap of only 5 thousandths in the race, Luke has looked untouchable so far tonight. But can Tope be the one to try and close in on the back of the Aston Martin? But as I was saying about Recurring, it's been the most unorthodox way to be P7. Started 19th, started on the mediums, had to pit twice under the safety car so he could use a mandatory tyre, and he's still running 7th. So a really good recovery in this race, but it just makes you wonder where he could have been if he'd actually qualified in this session. But either way, it's still a good recovery, and it's limiting the damage at the moment in the championship that his rivals are doing. Pretty much all of his championship rivals are ahead of him on the road. Luke is leading, Tope is second, RJ is a net third, and Brent is just directly ahead of him on the road at the moment. So all of Recurring's championship rivals are ahead of him, but not anywhere near as far ahead of him as maybe they could have been about 10 laps ago.
Yeah, I think Recurring is just wanting a challenge at the moment as well, but maybe he wanted to go on the softs, I don't know. But yeah, I think if he qualifies today, I think he would have challenged Luke and Tope for the win for sure. But it's not about where you qualify, it's where you finish, and Recurring will get quite nicely a P7, but surely he would want a P6 to try and get past Brent in a DRS detection point. So here we go then, on the run up towards turn 1. Don't forget, like we said earlier, very, very long. He's almost derated, goes Recurring, but this is not gonna pretty much hinder him in any way, as Recurring up to P6. Thank you very much. Goes to Haas driver, and he's now going to be in a decent position in terms of penalties as well. He's got to try and close in to get within the penalty range of J-Lib, but that shouldn't be too difficult. But you never know, it's not that long to go till the end of the race. The tyres could start to lose its grip very, very soon as well, because some drivers lose a lot of time due to that as well. Marty's been on those tyres for 17 laps. I believe that's the whole race. Is he the only driver to make a stop?
Yeah, it's the only driver that still needs to make a stop. Like you say, he is going, I think just going hoping for another safety car at this point, because right now, strategy-wise, he is pretty much nowhere. So it's not working so far for Marty. Old School, by the way, came out of the pit lane after a 2-lap undercut for YHOI. Old School 7 seconds back. That is a very powerful undercut from the Haas driver. The Haas driver was already ahead on track, but only by about a second and a half. So Old School losing out big time by pitting a little bit later. He may benefit later on in the race, but either way, the alternate strategy, even with the safety car not working at the moment, nobody on the alternate strategy is currently inside the points. YHOI will be in the points when Marty pits, but at the moment, that is about as far as he could possibly go. Bunty's still going with a damaged front wing. I think just likewise maybe with Marty hoping for a safety car, but he has now plummeted out of the points from what could have been a pretty solid, maybe top 5 finish for the Alfa Romeo driver tonight. And in fact, he's driving so slowly that YHOI has just hit the back of him through that corner, and I wonder if that's possibly damaged the front wing of the Haas. We'll wait and see. Hopefully it hasn't, but it was caught out so badly there by that, as Charlie has got the move on RJ, and in fact RJ is back through on Charlie, so I wonder if that was maybe an illegal overtake from the Ferrari. But either way, RJ losing ground, interestingly, to Tope and J-Luke, and now Charlie's on the back of him. Is RJ maybe just started to struggle for a bit of pace now? One person who's also possibly struggling for pace is Luke. Tope has taken half a second out of him.
So I wonder if Tope has saved a little bit of tyre wear for this possible moment to try and catch up to Luke, because he knows Luke is probably still pushing on his tyre wear, whereas Tope is not pushing quite so much. That's probably why Luke was gaining a little bit, and this could be the moment for Tope. He hasn't had many wins so far this season, but he's still in the championship hunt, so we will find out if he could capitalise on this and close in on these guys. Charlie does get past RJ once again then, a lot easier this time around in towards turn 13, so Charlie up into 4th, but at this rate, the way this is going, Charlie could be in the third position due to J Luke's penalty on his debut race in Eloise, and he spun earlier on. To be honest, that is a comeback drive in the half. He's one of my driver of the days for sure so far. Luke, definitely another driver as well for completely dominating this race, but he's still losing ground. The gap was about 2.9 seconds. It is 2.9 seconds, so yeah, I wonder if it's clicked for Tope now, and he's probably find somewhere where he can gain a little bit of time to try and catch up to Luke. So we'll wish him good luck as well. We could have a three-way fight for the win, but we got 8 laps to go. Let's see who's made of the right stuff. Luke's got to put his head down and make sure he had the pace as he did in the first half of the race.
Yeah, definitely did in the first half. Tope is starting to come back towards him, but is it enough? Is it maybe a day late and a dollar short at this point in the race, unfortunately, for the Williams driver? Considering where he qualified, the race pace for Tope has been very, very strong, but of course, his race position has been helped by the fact that his teammate was in a great position and ended up damaging his front wing, as Waichuai's got the move done on Marty now. Waichuai up into 10th, but he's got an 11.5 second gap to the next car, so I doubt he's going to get any higher than 10th unless there's a safety car or some carnage in front. We'll wait and see, but Tope's still closing the gap. It's down to 2.6, so he's taking a couple of tenths every sector on Luke at the moment. He's running nearly half a second a lap faster than Luke, so he would, with that pace, be in DRS range of the Aston Martin with 2 laps to go. So if he can keep it up, he would be right there, and he's dragging J Luke with him actually. So I think J Luke, by sitting behind Tope, is benefiting massively, and while they are closing in on Luke in front, they are pulling away from Charlie and RJ, and in fact Charlie and RJ are losing so much time that they've now been caught by Recurric, Brent and Parrott. So what was a 4-way fight for second has now become a 5-way fight for 4th.
This is absolutely insane with the midfield drivers. This is coming to the final few stages of the race, and it's turning out to be what we saw towards the end of qualifying. So maybe they realise how much is at stake for these points, because if you don't score as many points at this stage of the championship, then pretty much kiss your championship hopes goodbye, pretty much, as you've got quite a few more rounds to go of this championship. We've got, obviously, Ibbo Autodrome this week, we've got China next week, we've got, I think it's Hungary, actually, next after China. Then we've got Canada, Brazil, and then rounding up the season in Abu Dhabi. So not enough time for people to gain in this championship, and this championship could be decided nice and early if the guys like Recurric don't get a move on. He's going to lose ground in this championship, but he's still in this fight, so don't give up Recurric. We'll see what he could do as well. We'll keep an eye on any positions gained once again. So far, the biggest gain in Recurric up 13, Marty up 7, Cam up 8, and Marty still hasn't stopped. What is he doing? I think he's compromising his strategy, to be honest. Is he hoping for... Yeah, he's definitely hoping for a late safety car, but I don't think it's going to happen. So, Marty, if I were you, I would go and box for some new tyres, because I think his strategy is not working at all.
Yeah, the safety car doesn't look like it's coming, does it, at the moment? Charlie now with a time penalty as well in 4th. So what could have been a debut podium is now slipping away. He's now got 4 drivers behind him, including his teammate, that are all within range. So Charlie here what could have been a potential 3rd place in this race is looking likely to be an 8th place finish for Charlie, unfortunately, with that time penalty. RJ, does he think about the move on track on the Ferrari? Yes, he does, using his ERS and his DRS. Cruz has passed down the pit straight and up into 4th position on the road, but a compromised angle. Charlie's going to come back, and Recurric here is going to try and benefit on the both of them here. RJ here maybe going for the move on Charlie is put him vulnerable to Recurric behind, and this will be massive for Recurric's championship if he can beat RJ on track. Can't get the move done, but it's just costing them more and more time to the drivers in front. RJ having to defend on the way into turn number 6, but Recurric not able to get the move done. Kicking off a little bit now in this midfield battle, this battle for 4th on the road, but they have now completely dropped. As RJ runs wide, they've now completely dropped from our top 3. Our top 3 have now driven away, and while he was gaining for a few laps, the charge of Tope has kind of stalled out at 2.2 seconds.
Yes, I think Tope has lost a bit of time, and with Charlie getting a penalty as well, that's opened the door for RJ to try and close in, but I think he's struggling a little bit more as well as J-Luke gets past Tope. This is very crucial for P2 of this race on track, and for him to try and make sure that he doesn't get the deficit that he did not deserve, in his opinion. So J-Luke up to P2, Tope down to P3, but it is not over for the Williams driver. He knows he's going to get P3 after penalties, as long as he could just close in on J-Luke. But if he wants to win this race, he's got to get past them. There's one thing closing in on a driver, there's another thing on passing them. As Tope, he's going to get past J-Luke quite easily. Yes, he does. I don't think J-Luke's going to be fighting that too much into turn number 2. So Tope gets P2 once again. We've got Rakuri trying to get past RJ into turn 2. And this is quite huge for Rakuri to try and hope that he gets the lead of this championship once again. And this is what he's looking for. And he's harvesting. Rakuri's harvesting. This didn't open the door for RJ though. He stayed in P6. My oh my, we could be in for a crazy end to this Grand Prix, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. Fimp gets past Old School up to P11, so at the moment, penalties might think differently, but at the moment he's on for some points.
At the moment, at least, yeah, definitely. Although Dari and Mats, I think, are just within range. So as it stands, both Fimp and Old School will drop out of the points as it stands at the moment. But Luke leading the way, 2.1 seconds to Tope. I think what J-Luke is trying here is trying to build a gap to Rakuric, because he is almost out of penalty range to Rakuric, which would save J-Luke a third place finish in this race if he can get the gap. So crucial for J-Luke that he tries to hold on to a podium here. It's a great opportunity. It's holding on. RJ just in recent laps has fallen off the pace. He dropped the DRS to J-Luke a previous lap, and then on that last lap dropped the DRS range to Charlie just through pace alone, it seems, and that's allowed Rakuric through. Can Rakuric get back within DRS range of Charlie on this lap? It's looking likely, and that could save Rakuric a podium in this race. What a comeback from 19th on the grid and a bot strategy to finish 3rd for Rakuric. That would be massive for his championship. But yet again, the two drivers on form in the championship are Luke and Tope. They've been on form recently. They've both finished in the top 5 in the last 4 races in a row, barring 2 DNSs, really, for the two drivers on 2 separate occasions. In the last 5 races, they finished in the top 5 every time. They have been on brilliant form recently, and Luke and Tope continuing their form. We talked about it at the start of the season. It was really a battle between Rakuric and RJ. As of recently, Luke and Tope now look the strongest drivers in Division 3.
Yes, but we could say in, like, say, 5, 6 towards the end of the season, we could see 2 completely different drivers in championship contention. It's wide open between the top 5. You never know. You could see the likes of Brent and Dowie, for example, being up there. But Brent near the back, same with Dowie as well. So a bit of a shame there. Was there? We've had
J-Luke
lost it.
Oh my word. My oh my. Oh, I feel so bad for J-Luke. This season has been wretched for the Mercedes driver. He's had so much pace and not got the results. He was on for at least a 4th place finish in that race, and it was by far his best performance of the season. And with 3.5 laps to go, he's dropped the car and hit the wall and broken his front wing. That is race over for J-Luke. I would not be surprised if he pits and retires. He could salvage a point from this race if he pits and puts on a set of soft compound tyres. But for J-Luke, utter heartbreak from what could have been a podium in this race. He does retire in the pits. Not surprised by that one whatsoever. Race over for J-Luke. That is such a shame, and Mercedes' torrid season continues.
No points for Mercedes this week.
Yeah, yet again, 32 points for a full season for Mercedes. We were talking about it only 5 rounds ago that Alfa Romeo were yet to get off the board with points. Alfa Romeo are now 25 points clear of Mercedes in the championship in the manufacturers. So what a shame for J-Luke, was having such a good race, and yet again it's fallen away from him at the very end.
Yeah, I'm lost for words for J-Luke. He was doing so well, and yeah, what does it take for him to have a good race this season? I just don't know at this point. But still, we still got 5-6 rounds to go. Usually he's on better form towards the end. Can he replicate his end of season form from last season? I really do hope so. Let's hope he does not give up, because I've known this driver for many years and I know he has the pace. So hopefully he does not give up there. As for Curry, trying to get past Charlie in and to the heavy breakers end of turn 13 and 14, and he does it. does Recurrick. So Recurrick, who started towards 19th on the grid, up into P3. I don't think he's going to get the top 2, but my oh my, what a recovery drive from a driver who's picked the wrong tyres in the pit stops, or pretty much did it intentionally. I don't know, we'll probably find out. I think he did it intentionally, not going to lie. As Mats gets past Old School up into P11, but Old School's going to try and fight back. Mats has had a bit of a spin there as well, and he's gone through the escape road too after the heavy braking zone. I've done that a lot in my 3 laps of practice today. Yes, only done 3 laps of practice as Charlie's got Recurrick once again into turn 2. My oh my, this could be a battle of the ages. We've got Charlie, who's making his debut today. Recurrick is fighting for the championship. We said this earlier, the new people could be the one that's threatening the old guard, and this is definitely what's happening right now. And oh, this is very, very exciting. I know Charlie's got a penalty, but I still want to see Recurrick pushing very, very hard to get this podium on track, because you never know. Charlie's penalty could be removed, unlikely, but he's got to fight as if Charlie has no penalty. But, you know, he's got RJ in front of him as well. Oh, we got 1.5 laps to go. Let's see who will get P3 on track. Tote is 1.4 seconds between himself and Luke, so the battle for the win is not over either.
It's not over just yet, is it? Tope is giving it everything to try and get within DRS range of Luke, but if Luke can survive down the pit straight, it's possibly over for Tope, unless Luke makes a mistake on this final lap of the race. Recurrick, at the moment, a 3rd place finish for him would be massive for his championship. He will still hold on to the championship lead as it stands at the moment, but the likes of Tope and Luke will close in massively. RJ will not close in, and in fact, as it stands, RJ will drop to 4th in the standings behind Tope and Luke, and that will be the lowest RJ has been in the championship standings all season long. That's how good of a season RJ has had. He's been no lower than 3rd at any point in the standings this season, but he could be about to drop to 4th position. Tope just outside of DRS range. It was 1.1 by the end of the straight. We said it earlier on, Tope has got a lot of straight line speed in that Williams. Can he get into DRS range down the back straight, and can he force Luke into mistake? Luke has dominated this race from start to finish. Luke has not won a race so far this season. He only won 1 race last season. Luke has finished 4th on 5 occasions this season and has only finished on the podium 3 times. He's desperately looking for that first win, but Tope is within range, and the crucial thing is that Tope is also looking for his first win of the season. Despite these two being favourites at the moment in the championship, neither of them have won a race. Tope is within DRS range now, coming down the back straight. It's 0.8 of a second. It's a big gap. He won't get it on the straight. Can he force Luke into a mistake in the final sector, though? He'll be crawling all over the back of the Aston. Look how late on the brakes Tope is. Recurrick gets the move done again on Charlie down the back straight and is up into 3rd on the road. That should surely be 3rd secured for the Haas. We'll stick with the top 2, though, for the final few corners of the race. He's pretty much led from start to finish, bar the safety car period where a few drivers stayed out, but he made light work of those drivers. He's led from start to finish, and even with a late challenge from Tope, no one can deny Luke his first win of the season. Finally, it took him 12 rounds to do it, but Luke gets his first win. Tope tantalisingly close to his first win, but comes home second best. But 2 great drives there for 2 drivers in the championship. Our top 4 in the championship finished top 4 in the race, but not in championship order. Recurrick finishes 3rd from 19th on the grid, and RJ in the end drawing possibly a missed opportunity of closing in on Recurrick in the championship. Top 5 actually in the championship, all finished in the top 5 in the end, with Brent in 5th. Charlie dropped to 7th with that penalty behind us for our teammate Parrott, but 2 great drives there from the Ferrari drivers on their debut in the championship. Kamke back in the points yet again, completely on his own in 8th place. Whiteshire 9th, Darry 10th, and then it will be Thin and Old School rounding off the points in 11th and 12th. In the end, though, even with a late challenge from Tope, no one could deny Luke.
He's been faultless. He's been making no mistakes from start to finish. Qualifying, he nailed the strategy with going on tyres which were scrubbed. In the race, he was just unstoppable as well, and he knew he had the pressure from Tope behind, but no one could challenge Luke today as well, and it was a long time coming, and Luke definitely deserved that. The first Aston Martin driver to win since J-Cole as well, so that is really great to see that Aston Martin is back and could retake the lead of this championship as well. And it's good to see his old teammate J. Cole giving him some congratulations in the Discord as well. So it shows that Luke can win without his old teammate being present, which is great to see as well. Good recovery drive from both Ferraris as well to finish in some decent points as well. So solid debuts from both the FRL parents. I had to say that very, very slowly because I couldn't say that fast. But there we go. Luke is your race winner.
Yeah, Luke wins then from Tope and Makurik, our top 3 in that race. What a race for Makurik as well, from 19th on the grid with 2 pit stops under the safety car on a strategy that on any normal day would not work. He still ends up 3rd. Brilliant drive, and that is possibly a turning point in the championship for Makurik, that a massive disadvantage in qualifying turned into fairly null and void in the race. We'll wait and see how the championship changes, but Luke should move into 2nd in the championship in this race, and Tope will stay 3rd, but he'll fall behind Luke and jump ahead of RJ, so it will switch around. RJ in 4th ahead of Brent, who rounds off the top 5. Then it is Parrott in 6th place. Good recovery, like you said, for both Ferrari drivers. Even with that penalty for Charlie, it was still a good recovery from both drivers. Cam K in 8th, back in the points, having DNF for the first time. Last time out, he'll be happy with 8th position. White Hawaii in 9th ahead of Dari in 10th. What could have been for Dari without that front wing change, without that damage? Dari looked so strong all night long, couldn't get pole. Looked very strong at the start of the race, but it all fell apart from him at the safety car restart. It'll be Thimp in 11th place. 2 points to his name ahead of Old School with the final points finisher in the 2nd McLaren. Mats misses out on the points along with Marty, who did pit in the end. He did make that mandatory stop, but very close to the end of the race. Rex, who never recovered from the poor qualifying. Chill, who pitted, I believe, a 3rd time in that race. And Bunty, of course, having damage after contact early after Brent and Old School came together. So a long old race for them. J. Luke retiring what could have been for J-Luke in that race. Senna and Noah J, the other 2 retirements in that one. So a pretty topsy-turvy up and down race, but in the end, the top 5 in the championship are the top 5 in the results, and I don't think that's a coincidence.
Yeah, I think that just shows, doesn't it, why they are the top 5, because they've been the most consistent and they produced some solid races tonight as well. We thought Brent's race was over, but with him getting hardly any penalties, that's helped him a little bit, so good job on him as well. And this is going to be close between the top 5, and I can't wait to see what happens in China next week. But before that, I think we've got some people to speak to.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Hopefully we can get them into the party. By the way, China is in 2 weeks' time because we have a break week.
Oh, yes,
this
good
time
point.
next week we do. So everybody can rest up next week. It is, of course, Easter weekend, which is why we are having the break week. So I think we were maybe avoiding the probable situation of a lot of people not being available because they may be out on Easter weekend. So, yeah, we are having a break week next time around, and then it will be a 5-race dash to the championship at the very end. And while it was looking like a 2-horse race, maybe 5 rounds to go between Makurik and RJ, it's turned into pretty much a 4-horse race. Maybe with that race, though, for Brent, P5 not a bad result, but with all of his championship rivals beating him, I maybe think for Brent that could be him possibly slipping out of championship contention.
I think he needs another win, doesn't he, in order to get in this fight, or maybe in some more podium potential as well. But with the likes of Luke winning now, I think Tope will need a win there as well in order for him to be in the fight. So yeah, I think in order for people to be in the fight, they've got to win. They have to win at least one race. If they don't win a race, then they're pretty much out. But yeah, I've enjoyed this race so much. I've invited at least Luke to the party. I'm trying to get the others in as well, but so many honourable mentions to some drivers today. But great job from everybody, but only a few retirements as well, so it just shows that people just don't give up around here. And we will see what 2 weeks time unfold. Thanks for reminding me there's a break week next week, because I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, no problem for reminding you on that one. I think that was maybe a little bit of a saviour. Maybe we're thinking that we'd turn up next week and why is nobody talking about the race? But yeah, break week next week and then 5 race to the end. And speaking of the 5 tracks left, we did mention it briefly in the stream earlier on, but China will be the next race in 2 weeks' time, followed by Budapest, Canada, Brazil and Abu Dhabi to round off the championship. A lot of mix of tracks coming up in the latter stages of the season. China, traditionally a pad track in sense, you would say. It's very easy for those on traction, that track. A lot of long corners as well does help those on pad. But then straight after that, we've got Hungary and Canada, 2 tracks that are maybe more favoured to those that use the wheels. So it's going to be difficult to predict a champion at this point, isn't it, with how different the remaining tracks are?
Yeah, because they have different characteristics. Some are long laps, some are short laps, some have quite narrow bits to it, some is quite long as well, and some places it's good to overtake, some places not good to overtake. And with China, the softs don't last long around here. So they've got to qualify well in order to maximise their strategy, in my opinion. No sign of any people in the podium, and as I just said that, we've got Luke that's just joined the party, so hopefully, if they can hear us, they can put their voices on to share. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, fingers crossed we can get everybody's voice on to share. I think we've got our first and third place finishers into the party, so let's have a chat quickly then with our race winner. And it took you 12 rounds, Luke, but you got there. Congratulations. Brilliant drive from start to finish. First of all, talk us through that qualifying lap, because that came on your second lap without a break in between the two laps. Where did you find the time on that second lap?
I mean, I made a mistake in the first sector, so I knew I had to go again anyway if I didn't have a big gap. So I was probably going to do it anyway, but I had enough ERS to make it to the line, so I was alright.
Yeah, had enough ERS, and in the end it paid off beautifully from pole position. And the early phases of the race, everybody was battling very hard on the first lap. You had a lovely 1.3 second gap before the safety car came out. What was your initial reaction to the safety car? Were you maybe a bit miffed by the safety car coming out because you lost the gap, or were you not too worried?
I mean, I wasn't surprised it came out, but yeah, I knew I had pace to at least hold on. I knew they'd probably keep with me if they stayed in DRS, but just depending on how many of the medium guys stayed out.
Yeah, and in the end only 3 of them stayed out, which obviously played fairly nicely into your favour. And talk us through the latter stages of the race. Of course, Taupe coming up behind you very fast. You two have been pretty much level pegging all season long. How was that for you, those final few laps? Were you maybe a little bit stressed seeing the Williams close up to the back of you, or did you think you had it under control?
Yeah, I was making quite a few mistakes, especially into turn 1. I could tell he was really quick, so yeah.
Yeah, definitely a stressful few laps towards the end. But again, congratulations on your first win of the season. Jess, is there anything you would like to ask?
Well done on your qualifying. What would you think made the difference between the lot? Let me phrase that again. I'm so sorry. Why did it take so long for you to get your first win? Did it just click for you today?
Well, a lot of my best tracks it's rained at. So at Silverstone and Portimao, I was quick in the drive, but as soon as it started raining, I just don't have the pace to keep up with the other guys.
Fair enough. That is my question for the race winner.
Well, brilliant stuff. Thank you very much, Luke, for joining us in the party, and congratulations again on your first win of the season. We'll quickly move over to Rakurik for the final podium interview. And congratulations, Rakurik, you're back in the podium position. So I'm just figuring out a stat that of all the races you've started this season, you've never finished outside the top 5, which is a crazy stat this season for you. And gotta say, pretty solid damage limitation for you championship-wise, considering where you started.
Yeah, exactly. I was talking with YHYY as soon as the session, the lobby started. My internet went out, and I went to restart it, and I was like, fuck, I don't know if I can race. But anyways, it was fine. I just had to start from the back, and I was just talking with YHYY that any point is good. And then the early safety car kind of ruined my strategy, starting with the medium. So I took a gamble. YHYY stayed on the mediums. I went to do the double pit stop, first softs and then mediums, and then it was all good, just staying out of trouble.
Yeah, staying out of trouble, name in the game today, and it worked beautifully for you. You kind of answered my next question, which was going to be, was it a intentional 2-stop strategy under the pit stop? But by the sounds of it definitely was.
Yeah.
For you then, looking forward championship-wise, obviously got a break week and then 5 rounds to go in the championship. You'll still be leading the championship, but it's now Luke that'll be second directly behind you. Does your strategy for the championship change in the final 5 rounds, knowing that you've now got a 4-way fight for the championship, or does your strategy remain the same?
No, it's just drive, nothing else. It's fun. It's fun that there's 4 guys. Maybe Brent can get into it. He can win in China also. So it will be awesome to see more than 2 drivers at the last race have a chance for title. But anyways, for my racing, it doesn't change. I just drive the quali, see where I end up, and then try to keep it clean.
Yeah, try to keep it clean, and it's worked beautifully for you all season long. Jess, is there anything you'd like to add just before we round off today?
Did you ever think you were going to get that result after starting from low down on the grid? Because you were pushing, you even had a bit of a moment earlier on. Did you think you had the pace in you tonight?
Yeah, definitely. I was checking the quali times. I think I would have been top 5 comfortably in qualifying.
Thought
so. But after the start, I think I was 13th or 12th or something like that. I was thinking, okay, it's gonna be a good race. But then the safety car came, and I was like, I don't know, just any points will do. But then people start to crash, and I just tried to stay clean and everything. And but I wasn't thinking of third. No way. After the qualifying and the safety car.
Yeah, good redemption for you, and well done on a cracking race tonight.
Yeah, brilliant stuff, Rick. Thank you for joining us in the party as well. Unfortunately, we won't be able to speak to our second place finisher, Tope, today. He won't be joining, but congratulations to him as well on another podium this season. And that is where we're going to quickly round off tonight. We've got 12 minutes before D2 and D5 starts, so Jess and I have got to go and get ready. You can go and tune in to those streams, like we said, in about 10-12 minutes' time. You can go back and watch Divisions 1, 3 and 4 again, of course. They all took place at 6:30. As we mentioned, break week next week, and then we will be back in 2 weeks' time for round 13 at China. Thank you so much, Jess, and yeah, it's been great to be back in the commentary box after 2 weeks off. Thank you, Jess, again for joining me. It's been the first time it feels like in nearly a month that we've commentated together on this division, but brilliant either way. Great to commentate with you once again, and thank you to everybody for watching today. We will see you in 2 weeks' time. Enjoy the break week, everybody. Take care, and goodbye.